Welcome to the Telluride Backcountry Chats, first one of the season. My name is Matt Steen, and we are going to be joined with Mike Barney and Jon Tuckman this evening. We are in the new virtual Zoom chat format, which we will be doing all season. We wanted to thank our sponsors this year, Telluride Helitrax, Mountain Trip, San Juan Outdoor Adventures, Telluride Mountain Guides, and Peter Ingalls Avalanche Education Fund. So we're going to be going over a few different things this evening. We're going to introduce Mike Barney. He's the new backcountry avalanche forecaster for the North San Juans here in the region. Welcome Mike Barney to our group. He's not new to the area, but he's new to the job in the CAIC. But I've gotten to work with him internationally, and he's a great guy. Glad to have him part of our team here. And then we have Jon Tuckman, the director of snow safety at the Telluride ski area. They've been up there doing a lot of work already. I heard they're doing a lot of ski packing and trying to break up all the early season facets of snow where all the snow grains are getting really crystallized and brittle. So they're breaking that stuff up, getting ready for our adventures to come here in the near future, hopefully. We'll just get right to it. Looks like we have a few participants. We are going to launch a poll here shortly, and feel free to take this poll. There's just a couple questions on your avalanche education and how long you've been a local or skiing in the backcountry. We also have a question and answer component here, so you can type in your questions there. We do have everyone muted, and we are kind of learning as we go here. Been a part of some Zoom conferences, but not hosting, so bear with us. But any questions and answers, have them there. And I just wanted to introduce Mike Barney, the North San Juan's backcountry avalanche forecaster. Take it away, Barney.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming, and I'm really excited to be the new forecaster for the Northern San Juans this season. I've been over touring in Ophir just one day so far, but as the season progresses and we get a little bit more snow, I'll definitely be in your area, so come say hi. I'm excited to meet a bunch of folks over in the Telluride and Ophir area and write the forecast. So like Matt said, if you have a question, just please throw it in the chat there, and we'll try to make this as interactive as possible. Otherwise I'll just talk to my computer screen here. But I'm gonna take over the screen and share. Can you guys all see that? Is that working for you, Matt? Yeah, sweet. Okay. So what I'm going to do first here is just kind of go over really quickly the avalanche forecast and how to get the forecast in your area, and then kind of just run through the forecast and how it works. And then maybe we'll talk about the observations and how you can help me out and send observations of avalanches from your area. And are we going with the poll? And then I'll go over the season forecast or the season snowpack, and we'll just talk about how much snow's fallen and what the storms have looked like so far. All right. So
Barney,
this is
took over your screen. If it takes over your screen, I can stop it, but let me know if it looks good on your side.
Okay. I mean, you're going to see my share, I think, Matt. So if it looks good on your side, then I'll just continue here. But what we have on the screen right now is just avalanche.org. And this is kind of a nice page to start with here if you're traveling, or just if you want to see the, Western United States and all the avalanche centers, this gives them to you. So what you can see is there's a lot of avalanche centers up in Idaho and Montana, and then in Utah that are gray right now, and that's just because they haven't started for the season. They don't have enough snow. But otherwise, everybody else in the Western United States is green, which is low danger. So we'll come down here to Colorado, and these are forecast zones in Colorado. We have 11 forecast zones, and this is the Northern San Juans. So we'll just click on the Northern San Juans, and this might be kind of basic for folks, but this also might be brand new. So we're just going to kind of go over what this means real quick. It's important when you start the forecast. This is today's forecast, December 7th, and it was at 6:15 a.m. it was out. So that's pretty early, but typically we're going to try to get the forecast out at about 7 o'clock in the morning or so. And this is just kind of the first page. Some people just come to this page and then that's about as far as they go. And that's, that's all right if you're not really getting into avalanche terrain, but I think it's important to dig a little deeper if you are. What we're looking at here is just the danger rating by elevation. So we break it up into 3 bands. We have above tree line, near tree line, and below tree line. You can click on any of these little quick links here, and then this just kind of gives you the description or kind of the guidance on near tree line. In the San Juans, tree line is about 200 feet above and below large trees, which is, around 12.2, 12.1 to 11.8 or so. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about tree line. And then you can see today, nothing too exciting. We still don't have too much snow for the season, and we don't have that slab on top. That's a problem quite yet. So we'll come down here and we'll click on the danger scale. This is a really important part of understanding the forecast and what you're dealing with. These are the 5 different ratings, 1 through 5, low to extreme. And they all come with different definitions: travel advice, likelihood of triggering an avalanche, and then avalanche size and distribution. So when the rating's low, they're talking about these definitions right here. And I actually have this printed out. It's right near my desk. When I'm doing the forecast, I actually refer back to this quite a bit just to make sure I'm getting the right danger. But what we'll do now is maybe I'll just click on this, and this is a nice little video. Let me know if you can hear this. Matt, can you hear that? Can you hear that, Matt? No.
I can't hear.
All right. You couldn't hear that? That's
Negative.
okay. We'll skip it. But that's a nice little video, actually. If you're curious more about the danger scale, then come into the website and watch this video on your own time. It's actually a really well done video, and it just describes kind of the avalanche danger and what we're talking about with different danger ratings. So then we will, back out of the danger scale. That's just the very first look that you're getting. And then you come down to summary, and this is just normally 3 or 4 sentences. That's just dives into kind of the highlights of what's, if you're only going to read 3 sentences on the avalanche danger and how to stay safe that day, what I'm thinking when I'm writing this is just what is the most important information right off the bat. And so our forecast, unfortunately, we'll take a look at a more exciting forecast in a second here, but our our forecast right now is pretty dull. But it's just saying that because of the dry weather that we've had for so long and the cold nights and warm days, that the snowpack's breaking down. And that I'm sure you're feeling it if you're out there skiing, but especially in the trees and below tree line where the wind hasn't affected the snow is getting really weak. This summary is just saying that because the snow is getting weak from the top down, where you find that loose snow on a hard surface on steep terrain, you could potentially trigger a loose, dry avalanche. So then as we come down to avalanche problems, you can see loose, dry. These are all little quick links. You can click on them. It'll tell you more about the avalanche problem, loose, dry. You can also check out the other avalanche problems. And then you get to the rows, the compass rows. So the compass rows here is just letting us know that we can find today loose, dry avalanches on west through northwest, through north to northeast facing terrain, and that's above tree line. You can see it's labeled here. The center circle is above tree line, near tree line elevation band, and then below tree line. And then so we can trigger loose, dry avalanches, these elevations, these aspects. It's possible out of this likelihood of triggering avalanches. Today, it's possible to trigger these avalanches. And if we were to trigger one, they'd probably be small in size. So again, all the links right down here if you want more information on these. But we'll just kind of keep motoring along here. And then this is super helpful little section as you come down a little bit lower. You get into some photos. And you can see right here, it gives a little description. And folks over up Cement Creek, actually not far from here, a few days ago on the 4th, they triggered a small loose, dry avalanche. So obviously not super dangerous avalanche, but if you were in consequential terrain, this small bit of snow could push you over a cliff band or through a scree field. So, and then we have another photo right here. So it just gives you a better idea of what we're trying to describe with our forecast up to this point. Then as you come down a little further, you're getting into the weather forecast. So it's nice, you can just come in the morning to the CAIC website and get the avalanche forecast and then get the weather forecast for the day, for that night, and then for the next day. So for the next 48 hours. And you can see right here, it's giving us Monday night. You'll notice the elevation's 11,000 feet. So that's kind of a nice little option there, is that you're seeing the forecast for 11,000 feet. So, 17 to 22 degrees Fahrenheit, calm to light winds out of the east, northeast. The sky covered this evening is going to be clear. And there's no snow in the forecast, unfortunately, for the next 48 hours. So that is our page really quickly. And then we also have, if you want a little bit more detailed information, you can come to the forecast discussion. And this just gives you a little bit more detail into what's going on and what's happening. And I think the forecast discussion today is talking just more about that faceting process. And I think also it's saying that noting where the facets are right now is a good way to know which slopes to avoid once there's new snow on these slopes. So I think really noting where these deep facets are to the ground, or where these facets are sitting on top of a hard surface, is going to be where we're going to see our first avalanches once we get this next storm. And hopefully it's enough weight to actually cause a little avalanche cycle. But how are we all doing? Good. Nice. Cool. I'll just keep rolling here. And I think this, as you scroll down forecast discussion, it also gives you a description of these photos, just some facets on a crystal card. And then it also gives you a 5-day trend. So you can see from Friday through tomorrow what our avalanche trend was, all green. But if you come down a little further, you can see this is archive down here. And we're just gonna go to a more interesting forecast real quick. Let's see what day maybe right there. And then you just click on get forecast. Oh. And we will go with, yeah. And here it is. So this, you can see this was December 31st, 2018. And this was actually an avalanche warning. So it's nice if you have the app. The CAIC also has a little app that you can get on your phone. And if you're not at your computer, you can check the app before you go out, and that will give you all these warnings, as well as the danger rating by elevation band and a little bit of information on the app. So if you miss seeing it in the morning, you can check it on that app. And you can see right here, so this is with the avalanche warning. They're going to issue the time, or they're going to give you the time and date that it was issued, and then they'll also give you an expiring time and date, just like a storm warning. And it looks like here, this is actually kind of a similar situation. If we get a big enough storm coming up in the next week or so, we could see potentially this type of situation. So this avalanche warning is occurring because it's a weak snowpack like we have now, and now they're getting a considerable storm on top of that. You can see the trend again at considerable, and then trending to high at above tree line and near tree line the next day. It's important to check this forecast daily because this is just a trend and we get it wrong all the time. If the weather's off, or there's more precipitation than we expected, we're probably, we might be off on that forecast. So it's nice to not trust that and come back the next day and make sure that our forecast verified and that it is at high danger. But then you can see down here, longer summary, because it is heightened danger with a warning. And then it's really nice in this summary, Chris included some observations. So you can just hit those little quick links. Now the avalanche problem as we move down lower is storm slab. He's saying storm slabs are likely on all aspects and elevations, and they'll be large to small in size. Small would be an avalanche that could knock you off your feet and maybe injure you, break your leg, or blow your knee or something like that, but probably wouldn't bury you. Where large is an avalanche that could bury you and kill you if you were caught. Here are some photos from the storm slab. It's a natural avalanche. Just really helps you get a better idea of the character of the avalanches that you might encounter that day. And you can see there's a few obs for storm slab. And then you come down here and there's persistent slab as well. So these problems are overlapping. So it's possible, I think that storm slab looked pretty shallow, actually, is what I would be thinking here. It looked pretty shallow so far. As the storm continues, that might become deeper, but if you're on a northwest through southeast aspect at all elevations, it's actually likely that you could trigger a small to large persistent slab, which might be a larger avalanche as the storm gets going and continues on. And then a few photos of persistent slabs. Just a little one from red. There's a remotely triggered avalanche, which is an interesting phenomenon in this area that we don't see everywhere in the United States. Remotely triggered avalanche where the weak layer continues onto flat terrain. So you can trigger an avalanche from below. And you can see that these persistent slabs are already before this storm, up to 2 feet deep right there. There's another larger avalanche, kind of hard to tell the scale on that one, but yeah, I think unless there are any questions, which I'm not seeing any on the question on the chat there, I will keep going. You guys can hear me okay and everything?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, do you mind real quick just going over the weather product? Not the zone weather forecast, but just like the point forecast. Like, I think that's a super helpful trip planning tool.
Yeah, so there are a lot of other weather products that are on this page right here. You can see that this is the link, or this is the page for the weather stations, and this is weather stations all over the state. So this is super helpful for the more experienced backcountry skier. You can see northern San Juan's here. We have a ton of different weather stations. The one I check in the morning is Telluride headquarters at patrol headquarters, and that's super helpful. And that has wind, it has snow totals, and it has temperatures. And there's also El Diente here, which is a nice one. I use Kendall over in Silverton quite a bit, or Putney for wind. And then there's Southern San Juan's and a number of other weather stations that you can check. There's also, this gives you just some weather observations throughout the state. Oh wait, so shoot. I need to log out here. I told myself I was gonna do that, but I'm in my account, so you can actually see. Give me one sec here, please. Okay, so you come into here and what are you talking about exactly, John? The weather watch, radio recordings, back.
The point forecast. Yeah, the point forecast.
Okay. So here we are, point forecast. We'll come down to, let's see. So if we wanted to know the wind for the last 24 hours, Putney's a great wind station. So we can come down here and view this. And this gives us the wind rows, and let me pull that down just a little bit for you. So then it gives you the time that this was recorded and the date, and it gives you the average wind direction. So mostly east, average wind speed. You can see it's light winds, 6 miles per hour. And it also tells you, or it doesn't tell you about Putney, but Putney's up at about, I think, 12,000 feet. Right by Red 3. And is there anything else you'd like to see in here, John?
No, that's awesome.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
It's really good, and that's a proprietary thing. I mean, you guys are generating that every day.
Let's see here. So cool. And then maybe, Matt, should I go right into the seasonal snowpack, or do we want to take a break?
Yeah, that'd be great. I think just like the 2 cents on the CAIC website is that it's very robust. There's a lot of information there, and too much to go into on this evening, but encourage everyone to dive into this and to click on all the links and just be real comfortable navigating through that website.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. So just to talk a little bit about the snowpack so far this season. This was a snow pit that I dug on November 27th on the Grand Turk, which is just right up above Silverton. And this was a northeast aspect at 12,530 feet. And if we just kind of look at this information, this chart over here, this is snow totals for the storms from Red Mountain Pass. So you can just kind of see I took this information right here from the pass and just plugged it into what I thought these layers were. And what you can see right now, this is a high snowpack and a deep area in the San Juans, in the northern San Juan Mountains. So there are areas definitely where there's less snow above tree line on northeast aspects than 108 centimeters. But in this snowpack, or in this snow profile, what we're seeing is that we had about 20 centimeters of it was 1 finger October snow down there. And in a lot of areas, these facets, these basal facets that we typically have were moist or wet, and now they're frozen and they're hard. So that's a good thing. Interesting kind of a difference in this snowpack this year compared to other years is that we've had warm storms. So we've had 5 storms so far, and they've all been pretty warm. So we have a lot less snow down low, and actually a fairly average snowpack above tree line in a number of areas, at least around the Silverton area. So then, yeah, we had 10 inches. It snowed 10 inches on November 8th. This was our largest storm. This is when Wolf Creek Pass, the 8th through the 10th, received, I think, was it 5 inches of water, and 36 inches of snow. So on Red Mountain Pass, we got 8 inches, and then November 10th, the storm continued. There was a little break, and we got another 10 inches. So about 20 inches of snow there. And then we had a little bit of a break. Interesting thing right here to note is you can see we've already received 2 dust layers this season, which they're, fairly thin dust layers, but dust that blew in from the desert and is sitting deep in our snowpack. I'm not expecting that we'll actually see these dust layers again until May or later, hopefully. But then we had another 7 inches November 14th. That's kind of this layer right in here. And then November 16th, we had a fairly large storm over here that by the 25th, we had 16 inches. So this is a strong snowpack right here so far. But this was on the 27th. So what we have is, this is what we're referring to as our mid-pack right in here. And you can see, if you're familiar with hardness, we have pencil hard snow and then a little bit of 1 finger snow. So a very dense slab in this middle section. And then we have 25 inches, and we actually added 3 inches, I believe. Let's see. So there's our December storm on the 2nd. We added 3 inches on top of what was up here. So what's been occurring now, since this snow pit was dug, is that we've had these really, cold nights and just kind of classic for this area in December and the end of November and warm days. And what's happening is water vapors are going into the snowpack, the top about foot of the snowpack during the day when it's warm, and then they're coming back out of the snowpack in the afternoon or evening when it's cold. And as those water vapors go up and down through the snowpack, they're breaking down the bonds between these little snow grains. And that creates that sugar snow, or that really weak snow that'll create a weak layer for us in the future. So the dangerous part of this right now, in this storm, or this snow right here that fell on November 25th and on December 2nd, what's happening with that is that's that loose, dry avalanche problem that they were talking about in the forecast today. It's sometimes, point releases, or they start small and they can engulf or gain mass as they move downhill. And the recipe for that problem is this hard, dense bed surface below, and then loose facets on top. So this is a fairly predictable problem. You're going to see it, in isolated areas on slopes that are over 35 degrees. And you're going to need the, maybe up to 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches of that loose facet snow on top. It's fairly predictable. It's not a slab avalanche. This is not typically the type of avalanches that cause problems for people in the San Juan Mountains. And it's actually hardly ever listed on the problem list. The avalanches that are dangerous are slab avalanches, which is where you see a big fracture line across the top. And that's what typically catches and injures people or kills people in Colorado. So these facets are not super dangerous right now, but once we get our next storm, that's when we're going to have a cohesive slab from that storm sitting on top of these facets on top of a firm bed surface. So this is just one area up above tree line in a snowpack that's over about 1 meter deep. That's what we can maybe, expect now and expect after our next storm, depending on how much new snow and water we get in that snow. But then in other areas, like if you were to go over by Lake City, or if you were to go east of Silverton, other areas in the northern San Juan zone, or even maybe closer to Telluride. So far, you guys have a little bit less snow than we do over here on Red. So the snow pits that we've been digging that are less than about 60 centimeters right now are completely faceting. And so those snow pits can be above tree line in areas where we're seeing less snow, like Lake City or those areas. Or they can be near tree line. We're seeing facets all the way to the ground near tree line and below tree line over around Silverton. And it's the same over by Ophir. I'm guessing that you're seeing snowpack over there that is majority of facets. Above tree line in Ophir right now, you're probably seeing some of these dense layers, and probably on the ski area where the wind is previously loaded, or maybe even scoured some of these areas. You're still seeing this dense slab. Yeah, was that a clear description there, Matt? Or is there anything, Matt or Jon, that you'd like to add about the snowpack so far?
Thanks, Mike. No, I think that's a good general description. I think the green hazard rating that we've seen all fall here, or in the last, let's say, just in the last week or so, that we do have a combination of different storms, 5 different storm layers in here. We've had some wind events. So depending on your elevation and aspect, you might see a fully faceted snowpack. You might see some melt freeze crusts because of the warm days and cold nights. And you might see these lenses of wind slab that are pasted into gullies and leeward of terrain features near and above tree line. Mike, we do have a question. Is the snowfall history on the 550 graphic here, is it available to the public? And if so, where? And if it's not, maybe share with folks on how they can see different graphics from maybe the CAIC website.
Okay. Yeah, this is not a publicly shared snow total, but so I could look into finding that information, but I think kind of the best way to go about it is that typically after each storm, we would just, give snow totals. I think Telluride over in your area, Telluride's probably definitely the most reliable. I know, Jon, you guys are measuring snow every day at 7 a.m. So those snow totals will be out there to the public at 8 a.m. Is that correct? Or somewhere around there. And so
Yeah.
I think that right off the top of my head, Telluride Ski Resort is probably the best area to get those snow totals, unless you guys have other ideas.
I could show some folks if you wanted to start transitioning to Tuckman, I could go over that real quick if you guys don't mind.
Matt, maybe like just posting a link to a Mediogram and
Sure.
show people where they can find it.
Oh, yeah, like even some of the SnowTel weather stations.
Yeah, I mean, you could go to the Mediogram from a weather station, and it takes a few clicks here from this web page, but you can select a date range and get a graphic of snowfall.
So let's just go to where is it? Yeah. So you can definitely just click on this, and then this will give you, this is, on the snow stake outside Telluride headquarters, patrol headquarters. They're just measuring the snow daily. So showing you right there for the last 3 days what the snow totals are. And then, there's some other, you just look on the right here and where it says SnowTel, those are the weather stations that are going to give you the snow totals. So another nice one, like up on Red Mountain Pass, is Swamp Angel. And this will also just give you snow totals right here.
And before you go, Mike, we have another participant that's asking if you could explain facets. What's a facet?
Facet? So a facet is just as snowflakes fall out of the sky, they land on the snow surface or on the ground, and they start changing right as they land. And so if there's a large difference in the temperature from the ground to the air, or even from night to day, it's going to promote water vapors to move up and down with kind of the heat of the day, or the ground stays at kind of 0 degrees and the cold night air in December. That's a big difference in the temperature. So if you have 10 inches of snow on the ground and you have 0 degrees and -10 degrees, those water vapors are going to move really aggressively up and down through the snowpack. So what's happening is just you'll have these old grain, or these grains that are sitting in the snow, and as water vapor moves up and down between those grains, it's going to put little angles, or make these little angular grains that we call facets. So it's just breaking down the bonds between the snow that's sitting on the ground. And that's how you get facets.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Facets are something that the San Juans are renowned for because of that process right there. really angular no grains that don't like to stick to each other. Well, thanks, Mike. Is there anything else you want to add before we move on to Jon Tuckman?
One thing, Matt, if I have time here, that I'll show is just, I would love to show just where you get to, can you see the screen with the point forecast on it right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So one thing that I haven't mentioned yet that's really helpful for me, especially being over in Silverton this year, I'm going to try to get over to Ophir and Telluride area, Lizard Head at least once a week, if not more, depending on conditions, because it's different snowpack than over here. But your observations that you submit is really helpful. And so how you get to that is right on this main page. CAIC forecast page is right here, submit observation. And you just click right on that link and ask you some information. You can click anonymous if you don't want us to put your name attached to an observation. And then you can just click right here. It gives you some little yes or no answer or questions right here. Did you see an avalanche? Did you trigger an avalanche? Were you caught in an avalanche? And that just gives you a color on the observation that we'll put on our CAIC page. And that's so if you're looking for recent avalanches, you can see, yes, this person triggered an avalanche in this observation and they were caught. So you might want to check that one out first. Then it just has the date. You can just go right down here. It gives you a calendar. You can click on that date. And then your observation could be as easy as coming down here. You can, if you know the size of the avalanche or if you know, any of this information is helpful, but it's not totally necessary. I don't want this page and all these boxes to deter you from entering an observation. It's really helpful to us. And then so you could come down here and it could be as easy as just clicking this choose file. You go into your files and you grab a picture and then you upload that picture and then you would just give a brief description. Again, in that description, if you could just say, where the avalanche occurred, what aspect and elevation, if you know those details, and then hit save, and you can preview it, and then you can just submit to CAIC. It also has a place for your phone number up here and email. So if it's okay, a lot of times if we get an interesting observation, we might shoot you an email or give you a call if that's all right. If you don't want to, typically I email folks because then they can choose if they have time to reply or not. But, really appreciate this information that you can share with us. And I'm, new to public forecasting this year. I worked as a heli ski guide like Matt mentioned. So I've written a lot of forecasts, but this is a new position for me. So I'm really working on my writing and really working on helping everybody understand the snowpack and the conditions that day. So if we can work together as a team, I think this is a great resource that the state puts out there for us. And yeah, I'm excited to meet more folks over there and be your forecaster this season. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Mike. We got one more question for you. What do you think that 2 to 3 weeks of warm day, cold night in the forecast means for this top faceting layer for our next potential storm?
I think that it means that we're going to have, where we have snow depths that are 60 centimeters or less right now, that whole snowpack's probably facets. And we might have a little bit like 4-finger slab, or maybe where the wind really hit it, 1-finger slab. But for the most part, we have a, fairly deep faceted snowpack right now. And that looks like it's going to continue for the next 5 or so days. It looks like maybe on the 12th, we might be getting some snow. And then like we talked about a little earlier with that deeper snowpack and those really dense layers, typically above tree line on north facing aspects, we're going to see that slab's faceting right now from the top down. So those top layers or that top snow is really weak, sitting on a firm bed surface, and that's 60 centimeter deeper pit, and then 60 centimeter less, it's just going to be all facets. Either way, we have weaker snow underneath our storm slab that's eventually coming. The best thing that could probably happen for us right now is that we could get a monster storm and it could flush everything. It'd be really dangerous. We'd hit high avalanche danger, if we got 2-3 feet of snow really quick. And those layers would kind of avalanche and they would flush and they'd be disrupted. And hopefully it would, happen mid-storm, and then it would continue to snow, and those facets would rough up. Like when you're in a parking lot and you shovel snow into a bank, it pretty quickly hardens into hard snow. And it's the same with facets. So if you were to disrupt facets, then they'd, typically gain strength. So that's one scenario. Or the other scenario, which we see fairly often in this area, is that we build these facets like we've done right now, and then we get just little small loads. So we'll have like a 4-inch storm, 2-inch storm, 6-inch storm. And that's kind of more difficult to judge because you're skiing on these, the weak layers are underneath and you have this cohesive slab on top, but you're just gaining enough weight to tip that balance and just to be able to trigger those avalanches. So those are probably our two situations right there. Or the third could be that we just slowly build up our snowpack and that temperature difference goes away and the water vapors stop moving up and down through the snowpack and continuing to facet, and we just don't have any avalanches for the rest of the year. But that's fairly unlikely. So I think we're building a fairly classic snowpack for this area, and we're just going to have to watch out. Really these early months are some of the trickiest. So if you're new to backcountry skiing, I would, read the forecast, follow along. But I would really consider just going out in the springtime once the snowpack becomes a little bit more simple.
Thanks, Mike. Well, I appreciate all your hard work. Welcome to the world of public avalanche forecasting.
Thank you.
So next we've got Jon Tuckman, Director of Snow Safety, Telluride Ski Resort. John's going to be talking about a few of the backcountry gates and the Telluride boundary. Take it away, Jon Tuckman.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Mike. That was good. I was up on the Gold Hill Ridge the other day talking to somebody about everything that's been getting skied around here in the last few weeks, and we were remarking on, there was a time not very long ago when nobody would ski any of that stuff until March. But times change, and it's been, there's been some decent skiing out there lately. Okay, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Can you guys see anything? Steen, you see anything? You're muted.
Yeah, yep, I see stuff.
What do you see? Picture of a facet?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the person who was asking about facets, these are these are some chains of depth ore that we found on Mammoth Slide back in 2017. Lots of striations and cup shapes and sharp angles. They can get very large. They don't bond very well to each other. Okay, so hello everybody. Thanks for joining us. I am not used to doing these things on Zoom. It's much easier to do this in a room when we're all together, passing beer around and having a conversation. But just bear with me. And Matt, can you guys see this presentation? Yeah? Like presentation or notes view? Good. Okay, here's the ski area. Most of you have skied there, know it, love it. I'm going to talk a little bit about our internal closures, talk a little bit about what we've seen this winter as far as the snow goes and the snowpack, and a little bit about the backcountry access gates. And I'll make this pretty brief for those of you who've been attending these. We kind of talk about this every year. And for those of you who haven't, you know, nobody likes talking about boundaries. So internal closures at the ski area, pretty common: rope, close signs. Any rope is a closure, and you're supposed to stay on the open side of the rope. And even if there's no rope, if there's a close sign, it's still closed. Sometimes the ropes don't stay up everywhere, and we need to just close it with a close sign. Internal gates, like for the hike to terrain, Bald Mountain and whatnot, just a rope closure. When it's open, and when it's closed, it's closed. And we usually close those gates in plenty of time so that if you're the last person through it, you can hike as slow as you want and you won't be holding anybody up. And then the closed explosives in use sign, we almost only put these things out when we're actually using explosives. We're not trying to really dissuade you. We really are using explosives behind those signs. So try and stay away. And you'll see these anywhere. You'll see them in town if you're trying to skin up the Telluride Trail on a powder morning, which we don't allow. I know people do it often, but we're frequently using explosives on the front hillside above Telluride. So almost anywhere on the mountain at any time, you could come across explosives use. And these are the types of signs you'll see on the resort boundaries, different from internal closures. We have a closed boundary at the ski area. You can only egress the ski resort from backcountry access points, which we'll get to in a second. So more fun stuff. As far as the ski resort goes, this fall, we've had, my slides are a little out of order. We've had 49 inches of snow on the ski area, and very similar weather to what Mike described over on Red. Big storms either end of the month with a little one in the middle of the month. We had quite a bit of wind at the beginning of the month, and we've definitely seen we definitely have seen similar structure, Mike, to what you just identified. And then as far as slides in the resort, we've had a few. They've been mostly small and mostly limited to early in the month. The sort of the most notable one we had was on the 10th of November on Crystal, the big trees right above the top of Lift 12. That was remotely triggered by a snowcat to the ground, 3 feet deep. That was the third straight year in a row we've had that thing go remotely, probably for our first avalanche of the season. So that's how we know winter's here. Other than that, just a couple of what I would call small size 2s, one in mountain quail and one in Gold Hill 1, both with, pretty big explosives. This is kind of the stuff we've been seeing. Very similar to the kind of early season stuff Mike was talking about. You can see the facets that have been all disturbed on the ground, and you can see the slab. In this case, it was a lens of hard slab that was blown in on top of the facets, and you can see how it extends across the slope, basically on top of undisturbed facets. And we triggered this thing probably from 50 feet away from a spot with no snow on it at all, hardly. And the fracture in the weak layer traveled all the way under this thing, and that big lens broke off and tumbled down the hill. Over here on the right, you can see the slab that was triggered by the cat. I will say again, Mike, we've been seeing like really similar snowpack to what you showed in that pit in the Alpine. We definitely have areas, especially kind of north through east, that have that mid-pack layer. And we have a lot of areas that are just cohesionless facets. We did have a wind slab problem earlier, or I guess it was early last week, with all those east winds. We did have, I think it was Tuesday night, maybe, the winds seemed to blow a little stronger over here than they did over on 550, and we wound up with some wind slabs over those facets from the late November storm in the Alpine, kind of on northwest and northeast aspects. And we were dislodging wind slabs about a foot thick with explosives and reactive to skis, pretty isolated, but the facets at the snow surface from the late November storm are quite weak already. Let's see, we've been out, we started on November 11th. After the early November storm, we got a crew out, and like Mike said, disturbing facets on the ground is really helpful for later when they get buried. We've had patrollers ski packing the 9 area, the 6 area, the 12 area has been packed. The Prospect Ridge has been rolled with a mechanical roller and ski packed. And the 14 area has been rolled with a mechanical roller and then ski and boot packed down low. And we've boot packed, most of the big runs on Bald. And we've boot packed Mountain Quail. We boot packed Gold Hill 1 last week. And we're boot packing Revelation right now. So we've been able, with this shallow snow, to actually get on it and hopefully give us some basal layers that are easier to work with down the road when they do get loaded. Unfortunately, the snowpack in the woods is so thin, we haven't been able to pack some of those areas, that'll be really sketchy when they get loaded, the sullies and whatnot. Okay. Changing subjects to the backcountry access points. We have 5 of them on the ski area. There are 3 on the Gold Hill side. One is at the top of 9, and then there's 2 on the Gold Hill Ridge, one opposite Gold Hill 3 and one opposite Gold Hill 7. And there's one at the Bald Saddle and one on Palmyra at the skier summit of Palmyra. This is the one at contention at the top of Lift 9. All the access points have these yellow Forest Service signs. The backcountry access points are set by the Forest Service. We maintain them. The Forest Service tells us where to put them. And we know they're not all in the best spots. You don't have to tell us that. The Forest Service has put them where they are because of private land issues. They don't want to be putting skiers out onto private land. And, if it's great to get in touch with the Norwood Ranger District to, let them know your feelings on the gate placement. We did lose them for a while over a private land dispute in Bear Creek. Many of you probably remember this. It wasn't that long ago. It was within the last decade. And the Telluride Mountain Club was instrumental in getting those things reopened. It was a lot of hard work. So support your local mountain club if you like the backcountry access. This is a picture of the Bald Saddle Gate. A lot of people use this gate to access the observatory and Alta Lakes, and a lot of people use it to come back into the ski area from the observatory. And the Forest Service would like to remind everyone that these are for egress only, and they don't want people re-entering the ski area through the backcountry access gates. Although I will say, if you're up on Gold Hill, or out in the lowers, and the hazard is more than you bargained for, and you feel like coming back in is your best bet, just turn around and come back in. Nobody's going to say anything about it. Better going up than exposing yourself to hazard. Here's one of the gates up on the Gold Hill Ridge. This is the gate at etiquette. The Pie Fund and the Mountain Club and Jagged Edge are working this winter to put some beacon checkers at all of the access points. And we hope to have those up later this winter, and look for more on those. But obviously, if you're using the backcountry anywhere around here, you need to be prepared for self-rescue. You need to have avalanche rescue gear on you and know how to use it, and your partner should know how to use it. Most of you who've been out there know it, but using the backcountry gates on the Gold Hill Ridge and accessing Upper Bear Creek, accessing Lower Bear Creek from the contention gate, or accessing Bear Creek off of Palmyra, you are going to take exposure to really dangerous avalanche paths. You can't avoid the exposure to large avalanche paths. Even if you find a place where you're not skiing on one, you're eventually going to be underneath a big one. So just be really cognizant of your exposure and the hazard and what's going on around you when you're in Bear Creek. The saying is that if stability is the question, terrain is the answer. Well, that means if stability is the question, Bear Creek is probably not the answer, because all of that terrain is going to be exposing you at one point or another to really big avalanche paths and to other people on those avalanche paths. These access points, they're in areas that we're working to open the ski resort up for resort guests. And if we're using explosives up in the Alpine, we're going to close access to the backcountry gates to keep people who want to use the backcountry from interacting with us while we're using explosives. And it's created problems in the past when people have been planning to go out and we have that stuff closed. When we know we're going to be having those gates closed, we will put it out on the Telski social media channels, and the Mountain Club is good about sharing that information. So definitely before you go out, especially if it's within 3 or 4 days after 2 to 3 days after a storm, And we've been working on Gold Hill and Palmyra. Definitely, check Telski social media and see if you're going to have that access. And it's always good to have a backup plan, even if there's no delays on those gates. Sometimes there's a lot of people up there, and it's just better to be away from all the people. And as I said, use common sense, use safe travel protocols. If you're going to be in that terrain, be prepared for self-rescue, have some avalanche education, have some basic knowledge of how to comport yourself in avalanche terrain, and definitely read Mike's forecast and look at the recent observations from the area. Do beacon checks. Do beacon checks with your partners. Hopefully we'll have some hardware up there that will allow you to do the beacon checks yourself. Communicate with other parties around you. If you talk to other people on the ridge, find out where you're going. If you find people that are looking to ski the same lines as you, have a plan so you're not putting each other in danger, and use the radios. I know Matt's going to talk a little bit about the radios later, but they've been really, really helpful, especially in Bear Creek. Telluride Ski Patrol, we do have a couple of those radios. We don't monitor them all the time. We have a lot of our own radio traffic, but if we catch wind of something going on in Bear Creek, or if it's a very busy day, or like we're on True Considerable and there's a lot of people back there or something, we may be listening. But we do have radios, and if we hear of something going on, we'll turn them on and see if we can get a hold of you. And that does not mean we're going to be in a position to come out and do rescues in Bear Creek, on any given day. That is something that goes through my bosses and goes through the sheriff's department, and a lot of things are taken into consideration before we send people out there to do backcountry rescues. And we're usually willing and we're often able, but you must be prepared for self-rescue, because you can't count on us coming after you. And even if we do, we're not going to be there in time to get somebody out of the snow and affect, a positive outcome unless there's some kind of miracle. And as I said, have a backup plan, be prepared for self-rescue. And also, this season, I think Matt's going to talk a little bit about last spring, but there is a pandemic. The outbreak's really bad right now. We're all on the verge of, being sent home from skiing, it seems like. And, it's kind of all of our responsibilities to not need help out in the backcountry. The rescue teams around here are really good. They're well trained and they love going to work. But, more than just putting teams into, backcountry danger, avalanche danger, when you ask people to come in and help you out in the backcountry, now you're asking people to, gather and interact with one another when there's a pandemic. So while skiing is kind of our great release this winter, just be cognizant of the downside of asking other people to come into your situation. So it's weird, I know, but it's an issue. And I'll finish with just a couple of pictures of Tempter. This is a big natural avalanche path. We've had a half a dozen fatalities in here over the years. It's not legal to access it. We have natural avalanches back there all the time. This was a natural avalanche. We have triggered avalanches back there all the time. The run out is at the top of a popular hiking trail, and there's just too many consequences for yourself and others to get back in there. And that's all I'll say about that. It's very, very dangerous and illegal. Yeah, we've had a lot of incidents back there, and we would love to see them end. So that is about all I have. And I would love it if anybody has questions, feel free to ask or throw them into the chats. And if anybody has any thoughts for chats we can do later this winter, we'd love to hear those too. We've got a few planned, but a few empty spots.
Thanks, Jon. Appreciate all the details there. Just looking at our poll that we put out at the beginning, there's about 25% of you guys are new to the area. So for some of you that might be hearing some of this stuff and it sounds redundant, but it's good to see that there's 25% of the crew that's attending tonight that hasn't heard any of this. So thanks, Jon. And yeah, if there's any questions that come up, I'll try to field them in the question and answer component. I'll go into just an intro for me. My name is Matt Steen. I'm the snow safety director with Telluride Helitrax. In years past, I was the backcountry avalanche forecaster like Mike Barney is today. And I was also a ski patroller up on the ski area. To just kind of encapsulate why we're doing this. I mean, we're trying to encourage safe travel in the backcountry and trying to educate the public in our communities in all the ways we know. And this is a great way just to get our word out. And in the past we used to meet up together and drink some beers. So this is just a little bit new for us, but the whole focus of the Peter Ingalls Avalanche Education Fund is for it's a safety focus, and we're trying to give money to those applying for avalanche courses and through the season and host these chats. So thanks for everyone for showing up. For all the new folks that are in town, that this summer has been a big influx of new residences. Just know that every ski area is different, but rope lines here in Telluride there may as well just be a wall up on for these rope lines. There is terrain that is very easily accessed that can get you into some serious trouble. Following tracks is not recommended because people cruise around with ropes and harnesses around here. So I encourage everyone to get with a mentor, get with some locals that have a good head on their shoulders. I'll let you do the gauging on that and get out and just be safe.
Hey, Matt.
Learn. Yep.
Just one more word about what you were saying about the backcountry gates. Bring skins, especially if you're skiing in the lowers. Always have a way to get up the hill.
For sure. So the ski area is done. Yeah, ski area has easily accessed backcountry access gates where you can either hike to or you can ski right to a gate and just easily just skiing downhill. Once you go into the backcountry, you're not in any controlled terrain, and you are in the backcountry. So having uphill capabilities, rescue capabilities, having all your gear and your know-how is very important. So I'm going to share my screen, get my show going here. Can everyone see that? Yeah. Great. So in 2016, the Peter Ingles Avalanche Education Fund was started in memory of one of our great friends and ski partners, Peter Ingles. He was a longtime local and avalanche forecaster for the ski area and international guide. He used to do these chats throughout the winter to educate the community. And since his passing, we've all taken the reins and we're driving it forward. So thanks, Pi, for all your forethought and all this. So I just wanted to start off with this, with the COVID chat. The American Avalanche Association president came out today with a letter, and it just kind of reinforced a lot of what was happening last fall after the closing of the ski areas. But people are getting out into the backcountry in droves. Equipment is being sold out of stores. Courses are filling up. Trailheads are full. I think we've all seen that. So what do we do? I think we attend these chats. We mentor newcomers. If you do have any education and you want to take on taking people out and into the backcountry or just into these areas that we're talking about. Just wanted to preface that good riding skills don't equate to avalanche safety skills. I've heard over and over again, oh, that person, they're a great skier. Well, it really doesn't matter in terms of avalanche safety skills. So have your radar up for that. But emergency medical facilities, they are stretched thin. And just to be keeping this in mind, it is a good time to get into the backcountry. I had misspelled there. But for avalanche professionals, search and rescue groups, healthcare providers, and all the other frontline workers, dial it back a notch. Just to briefly chat about last spring, the ski area closed down March 14th, and we saw numerous incidences in our region with avalanche incidences. There were a lot of really close calls. People were caught, carried, and injured, needing helicopter evacuations. It took even some counties like San Juan County to just completely close the backcountry and said, hey, no one can go out there. So I think we should just take on the responsibility as a whole here. And I know we're all jonesing to get out there, but just to dial it back, we don't need to be going crazy. So to go into the Bear Creek radio program. So in 2016, we started coming up with this idea to communicate in the backcountry. So it might sound a little silly, but it was all it all sparked from people going into Bear Creek. And so just a quick history, and Jon talked a little bit about it, but we haven't always had Bear Creek as easy access. Over the years, the lifts have been going into Prospect Basin. Revelation lift went in to get us even higher up on the Gold Hill Ridge. Bear Creek has been closed in the past for private land. We I guess take it as a gift that we're grateful that we can use and ski into this terrain. But as access became more easily accessible to these backcountry gates, the number of people going into extreme avalanche terrain just kept increasing and increasing. And so I was thinking, like, how can we prevent an incident from happening of someone triggering an avalanche on top of someone else, or just having this chaotic backcountry scene in Bear Creek? I mean, is it something like a trailhead registry. Like you sign it in and say, this is what I'm going to ski. And then someone comes up and says, oh, okay, someone just dropped in 15 minutes ago. We'll give them another couple minutes. Well, there's this great technology out there, and they're called radios. And we're all working on our own communications here and just trying to relay our messaging to each other. And having common use or common channels or known channels in high use avalanche terrain, where you can, when you're about to drop in on a slope, you can be on that channel. You can radio, send a call out and say, hey, there's a couple of us, we're about to ski in on this run. Is there anyone out there? You're doing your due diligence to see if there's anyone out there, because heaven forbid that you did, trigger an avalanche and harm someone else. And on the other end, if you're down on a slope and let's say you fell and you lost your ski and you hear on the radio that someone's about to drop in on top, you could respond and say, there's people on slope, please give us some time to clear out. So just as a recap here, and this was originally designed for Bear Creek because it's easy access backcountry terrain. Some people call it side country, but it is backcountry terrain. It's not patrolled, it's not controlled, meaning there's no explosives. People dig pits out there and analyze it, and it gets posted to the CAIC, but it is backcountry terrain. Back in 2016, Bruce Edgerly, he's one of the founders of Backcountry Access, and myself, we wrote a paper for International Snow Science Workshop. You can find a link for this paper on the Mountain Club website. But we did a case study where not a whole lot of people were using radios at the time, but we just polled people on what they think of common channels and whatnot. But the gist of this is that at the time we were just using one channel for all of Bear Creek, and since then we have 3 channels. But one of the biggest factors or deters of people using the radios is there was too much chatter on the channel, and so as a result of that, we went to 3 channels for Bear Creek. And I just want to preface that this is it's a grassroots operation here. It can change. I would like it to continue to evolve into new and better things. But since then, the Telluride Mountain Club has adopted this program, and just for to continue the drive for safety in the backcountry. And here's a pic of pie, but founded in 2016. So there's also links to the Peter Ingalls Avalanche Education Fund in the Mountain Club website. So Bear Creek, it's a beautiful canyon that is just adjacent to the Telluride ski area. It is a sanctuary. It's a cathedral for locals. It's a very sacred place. It's a beautiful place, but it's very dangerous. Like Jon was saying earlier, there's really no great place to hide from an avalanche in Bear Creek. I forget what year this is from, but this is from an aerial picture of Bear Creek from there must have been some persistent weak layer within the snowpack after a storm, and so just widespread avalanching. So just to go over just locations and everything, this orange outline is the Telluride ski area. Telluride's down there in the lower left, and Bear Creek basically just encompasses a drainage to the east of the ski area. The backcountry access gates, as Jon was indicating, there's one at the top of Chair 9. As you go up the Gold Hill Ridge, there's one near the high elevation point of Gold Hill proper there. There is a third one on the Gold Hill Ridge that is, I guess, about partway up from the lower saddle between the top of Gold Hill and climbing up the ridge towards the stairway to Gold Hill 9. There's an additional backcountry access gate off the top of Palmyra. And there's a fifth backcountry access gate that is down off of the Bald Saddle in the off of Prospect Basin that can gain you access into Alta Lakes. These backcountry gates, as John was indicating, they are always open, but the terrain in the ski area might dictate whether or not you can get to them or not. So if they're using explosives on the ski area, they're not going to want you to be walking behind them. So you just have to respect those closures when they're in place. So just looking at how much of an attractive nuisance the backcountry is here in Bear Creek, this orange line in the ski area boundary in Revelation Bowl is there to the right, top of Lift 15. And then there's a road cut that's cut into the top of what's called Nelly Bowl there that gains the ridge to the top of Gold Hill. There's not a backcountry access gate off of this road cut. It's further up the ridge. And so I just ask that everyone just respects those closures. Here's a look at the saddle between the top of Gold Hill looking towards Palmyra, and you see a few folks there. So this, I think this picture was taken before the road was cut in there. So there's a road and there's a backcountry access gate up that ridge. John went over these backcountry access point placards. He did mention that we're working on getting beacon checkers. So as your avalanche beacon or avalanche transceiver, as you walk by these beacon checkers, they'll give you either a green circle or a red X. A green circle is just picking up and saying, yeah, you're transmitting. So it's just kind of a reminder of an importance of your gear. So with the backcountry radio program, we're using family band radio service. So FRS frequencies, you don't need a permit to use them. They are public. So all these channels, anyone can tune into them. The easiest radios to use are these backcountry access radios. They come pre-programmed with a few channels, and we've adopted some of these pre-programmed channels for our areas. But there are other radios out there that are available. Motorola's, this is a Waxon radio. There's Baofeng, there's a couple others you can buy online. These programmable radios, they take a little bit more headspace to get the programming right with the channels and the sub channels or the privacy codes, but it is doable, and you can set a bunch of preset channels in there. What's nice about the backcountry access radio is that the actual radio lives in your pack, and then the microphone can come out your pack and you can wear it on your front shoulder sleeve or anything, but you're just keeping those electronics away from your transceiver, which you typically wear around your chest. So just remembering, if you're carrying a radio, just to keep those things separate as you travel. But as a reminder, again, just this radio program, it's just for the people, it's by the people. We're not saying anyone's monitoring these channels. As John said, sometimes they turn those radios on as a ski patroller up at the top. Sometimes they don't. But it's really, it's our job as a community to watch out for each other and to utilize these radio channels for your safety and for the safety of others. So the intended uses of the radio program, it's a way for for you all to communicate with people within your own party, but more importantly, to communicate with other groups around you, either above you or below you. You can also use these as a distress call to your group or to other parties that may or may not be able to help if they're nearby. You can also alert of any avalanche hazards or any conditions you might want to report on. But to reiterate here that this is, you're not necessarily getting out to a higher rescue group or anything. But if you didn't have cell reception, you might be able to reach out on your radio to someone else that does have cell reception that could call 911. So to continue here, but radio communication between partners in between areas of safety. So you can radio and say, okay, I'm clear or pulled out into the safe zone. You could report on potential hazards like, yeah, I was skiing down on the right. It didn't feel right. Or, I felt a slab. I moved left because I wanted to stay away from there. Can everyone ski left of my track? Just specific information like that is very clear. Say you're on a route and you needed to radio back up to someone up top because they radioed out and said, hey, I'm about to ski Nelly. Is anyone in Nelly? You radio back, say, we're halfway down, we'll radio you when we're clear, and you can radio back up and tell the group that you're clear. This is redundant here, but communication between partners in areas of safety, hazards, I think that's just general communication, yeah. Also, you can, any information about route selection, timing, but really you're communicating between your groups, so you can get rid of your hoots and hollers. You can actually use language, your own English language, or any other language for that matter, and communicating to other groups. Communicate about hazards, avalanche information, and clear of any line or run out zone. So in Bear Creek, we do have these group monitoring channels. So these are preset channels that come on the backcountry access radio. So that's when it says channel A, B, C, D, E. Those are preset channels on the BCA radios. You can program these on all these other radios. So I'll go over a map on where these are exactly located, but for Lower Bear Creek, which is generally tree line and below, we're on channel 10. We might be changing this in the future, and I'll go over a little bit of information here in a second on main channels of like 1 and 0. If you're on a privacy code of 0, you're actually scanning all of channel 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. So depending on people are out on the ski area talking about how great the chili is at Grano, you might hear them if you're on 1, 0. Upper Bear Creek, it's on the Telluride ski area side of Bear Creek, which is all above tree line. Wasatch is the mountain across the valley, directly across the valley there, kind of above where it says monitoring on the screen here. And that's a different channel. And then Ophir, which is the valley behind this picture, but in an adjoining town, people have been using 810 or channel D. In case of an emergency, the preset channel on channel E is 9, privacy code 11, 911. And so if there was a rescue happening, you could indicate, okay, let's all switch to channel 911 for this rescue. We'll all be on that channel for any further communications. So for Upper Bear Creek, it's a lot of order here. Channel 5, privacy code 10. Lower Bear Creek is 10. It's kind of indicated there in orange. And Wasatch is that far side, which is 4, privacy code 20, which is a popular channel. And Ophir, which is 810, channel D. What's interesting this fall is I've had a lot of communications with some folks in Utah and up in Pacific Northwest, and this group monitoring channels is really gaining some traction across the different mountainous areas. So it's pretty cool to see. So this is the first year that the Utah Avalanche Center is starting a program like this. It's very similar. They chose channels based on the highway that's in these canyons. So Little Cottonwood Canyon, it's along Highway 210. So they chose channel 10, privacy code 10, or sorry, channel 2, privacy code 10, and so forth. So it's really cool to see this gaining traction and that people are looking for additional ways to stay safe in high use backcountry terrain, especially with the huge uptick of backcountry travelers in the area. So I'll be keeping an eye on this and seeing how that goes. And like I said before, this is an evolving program. So looking for any pointers on or any advice on the ways we want to take this. But as I said before, one thing that I've been mulling over and haven't really come to a very clear conclusion is that if you have a zero in the privacy code, like 10 or 20, et cetera, that you're monitoring all the channels of that number. So 10 monitors all of one with no matter what privacy code you have. One issue I see is that if you're hearing someone call out of distress, you don't know what privacy code they're on, so you might not be able to just quickly respond to them. You'd have to go through every privacy code to eventually find them, unless there was some community set channels that, if like say we change Bear Creek to 1.1 and 1.2 and 1.3 and 1.4, et cetera, if we added channels, that if someone was just on 10, that they knew that someone was on 1.1 through 1.5 or whatever it is, you'd have a smaller range of channels to try to get communication with these folks. So something to think about. So more channels potentially. We started off with 1, we quickly went to 3, 4 for Ophir, but we can expand these to multiple channels and pass this information on to everyone to get on the same page. So we're definitely open to comments and suggestions to this. Like I said, years ago, we did a poll. We haven't done it recently. But having a radio be a part of your gear is the next step. You go through your checklist of your backcountry gear, and it's beacon, shovel, probe, airbag, maybe an Avalon, but a radio. Let's make sure a radio is on that list. So to start wrapping things up here, but if anyone else also has any additional chat topics throughout the winter, we try to do a chat a month. Maybe we'll try to do a few more than once a month, seeing that the Zoom platform's fairly easy for everyone. But please send your comments to telluridemountainClub@gmail.com. And or you can also go online to the Mountain Club's website, and you can fill out this form here. So what's next? Follow the forecasts on a daily basis. I'd recommend on the CAIC daily avalanche reports. Even though you're not out there skiing, you can follow those that do, and so that when you do go out, if you've missed some days, you're not in the dark. Take a course, find one. They are filling up fast. Mentor, if you can be a mentor to someone, do it. So all those that know me and want to go out with me, give me a call and bug me. Let's go out. Let's do it. What else we got? Ask questions. Feel free to email the Mountain Club. Don't be afraid to ask. This is all can be really new to some folks and can be old hat to others. But the bottom line, if you don't know, if you don't feel confident about skiing something, just don't go. Practice with your gear. Practice with your gear. I did that twice because you can't get enough practice with your gear. So get out there with your partners, run some scenarios, practice with your gear. And please share your experiences and observations, and get on the CAIC website and submit those observations. Those forecasters can only see so much, and so eyes and ears and snow pits and pictures are great. Just sending pictures to the CAIC. Pictures 1,000 words. So the next Avalanche, Peter Ingles Avalanche chat is to be determined. So check the social media on Instagram, Facebook, or TellurideMountainClub.org. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for attending, and thanks to our sponsors and those that are helping keep this thing rolling. Mountain Trip, Backcountry Access, Telluride Mountain Club, Telluride Helitrax, Jagged Edge, Mountain Gear, Telluride Mountain Guide, San Juan Outdoor Adventures. Yeah, really appreciate everyone's time here. And we're hoping to get a few of these out, like I said, at least once a month, if not more. And look forward to seeing everyone soon. Any additional comments?
No, Matt, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Telluride Mountain Club and Telluride community. Jon and Matt, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. We look forward to reading your forecast.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
And Tuckman, take care of all those patrollers up there. I know you guys are working really hard, and all that ski packing is a huge effort. So everyone just be very thankful to all the ski patrollers out there. They might just look like they're sitting on benches eating donuts, but they're out there working at least 95% of the time. So thank you very much for all your hard work.
Thanks, Matt. You guys do snow dances, all of you. That'll make all the problems go away, but the avalanche problems.
Thanks, everyone. Be safe, and we'll see you soon.